Hey folks, what's up? This is one big bugger and my camera is always over where it doesn't belong. Anyways, just another vlog, and this one's more of a rant than anything else, I feel. Um, so I've started driving for Uber and Lyft, giving it a shot. Probably not the best idea with a vehicle that already has 150,000 miles on it, and I just had to have $2,000 worth of repair done to it. But what are you gonna do? Hopefully I don't have to do any more massive major repairs for the next 3 years. Actually, 2 years now. Or almost 2 years. 2 years, 2 years and 2 months. Hopefully I don't have to do any more massive major repairs to it in the next 2 years and 2 months. And then I'll be able to try and get something better. You know, maybe I can go to an actual dealership because I'll have the Envoy, and I'll be able to trade it in for a small value and get something that's maybe only 3 years old and has like 50,000 miles on it. But that's another story. So I started thinking, you know, I've been reading things. Google has automated cars that drive around. Yeah, a lot of automated cars and do the Google Pictures thing. Yeah, Google Road, Google Street, whatever. And then other companies and other things have automated stuff. With Uber, they're hoping in the next 10 or 15 years to completely have a totally autonomous fleet of cars that handle all Uber rides. So in other words, your Uber driver will no longer exist in 10 or 15 years. When you want an Uber ride, you're going to get an autonomous vehicle. Now, good or bad in terms of I'm not here to debate if that itself is good or bad. I have apprehensions behind autonomous vehicle driving because, yes, there can be a lot of great stuff. A computer can do things that a human cannot in terms of following. Computers don't get distracted. They don't get tired. So it's very unlikely that they're going to get into an accident. And in an autonomous vehicle, there's not a driver that's at risk from a drunk passenger, and there's not passengers that are at risk from a shady Uber driver. But there are also the flip sides of that is, well, what happens if you get a very drunk passenger that passes out in the back of the car? Or you get a passenger that pukes all over the back of the car. There's nobody there to clean it up. How are you going to know if somebody puked all in the car? Your Uber car could go, drop somebody off. You can't monitor it all the time. You can't. I don't know if you could put any sensors in the car that could deal with it. There are all kinds of things and problems that face it, but you could debate that back and forth. No, what made me think is when I started running into certain things, and something tipped it over today. If you need to contact a lot of video game companies now, Riot, Blizzard, EA, Ubisoft, any major companies, you cannot call them anymore. You cannot talk to somebody. You can't. You have to submit a ticket, or if you're lucky with a few, you can get a live chat. And there are lots of companies that are starting to do this now, where you cannot get a live person, where you have to email or send something in through an app on your phone or things like that. And then you look in places like Walmart, self checkout, Stop and Shop. I don't know what big stores we are, but Stop and Shop, and Shaw's, and other big supermarkets, self checkouts. You can check yourself out. And yesterday, while driving for Uber, I came across a McDonald's in a very bad neighborhood, one I will not go back to. This McDonald's had kiosks. And if you wanted to put in an order, you had to use the kiosk. Yep, you had to use the kiosk. Let me run that by you again. You had to walk up to this huge cell phone looking thing and tap in your own order. You had to make selections off picture menus. Then customize if you want to customize it. In this McDonald's, you can no longer walk up to the counter and tell somebody what you want. When did we start taking the service out of customer service? When did that start happening? When did it become wrong to want to speak to somebody over the phone or online now? When did it become wrong to be able to call somebody and hear a voice on the other side and explain what you want rather than type it? You know why? Because I very much believe that typing things is very impersonal. I've never just liked typing. It's impersonal. It's bullshit. If I'm trying to deal with sensitive subjects with somebody, I don't want to do it over text. I want to talk to you. Because so many things can be taken out of context in text. And then I started wondering. Now, I'm not going to predict a whole Skynet apocalypse where AI takes over. More and more companies are trying to autonomize, I don't even know if that's a word, things. Like in the McDonald's, the only thing you can do at the counter is pay cash. You punch in your order, it gives you a ticket, you take the ticket up to the counter, you pay cash. Or you can swipe your card at the kiosk. I mean, what's next? You know, are your pills going to be filled out at CVS by a computer soon? And just be overwatched by a pharmacist? And then it's going to be delivered to you at the counter via slot? Hmm? They're basically doing more and more to turn the customer into the employee. They put more and more responsibility on you. I know this may sound first world problems, maybe it is, but as a customer who's looking to come in and sit down and get something to eat, or who's looking to get in, order, and get out, okay, I do not want to have to walk up to a kiosk and sit there and try and figure this goddamn thing out. I should be able to walk in, speak to somebody, and say, I want this, this, and this, and can you please make sure this isn't on there? It should be that simple. It really should be that simple. But it's not. And it's ridiculous. I consider myself tech savvy, and it took me 15 minutes to figure out how to order 2 chicken sandwiches plain, 2 of their little bacon double cheeseburgers, and a drink. 15 minutes for me to figure it out. There was another guy over there, well, how do I make this well done? I want my burger cooked a little more than what you guys normally do. How do I put that in? There's not an option for it. All of this is so companies don't have to pay as much. They don't care about customer service. They don't care. You know, a lot of people point to Electronic Arts lately and what it did with loot boxes and everything going on with loot boxes in gaming. So much so, it's garnered international. It's garnered international attention. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeesh. Freaking all these different companies, yeah, are looking at. Are being called out for the things they do. But yet we don't look at the everyday stuff that's happening. As more and more companies don't care about you as a customer. They don't. Don't believe me? Let me make this real simple for you. Okay? Let me make this real simple for you. Their job is to just get you to come in and spend money. That's it. And as they will do that with as little effort as possible. And like everything, they will very, very slowly introduce you into that world. You can point to video games and loot boxes. Ever since DLC became a thing. Ever since DLC became a thing, you started getting microtransactions and mini DLCs and day one DLCs and pre-orders and special store stuff. And then loot boxes and this. And they slowly increased it. Little by little. You know, they say there's an old rumor, a wives' tale. I don't know if it's true. If you turn up the temperature of water slow enough on an animal like a frog, it will not realize when it starts to boil to death. Now, I don't think that's true, but it's an old wives' tale. Meaning that if something happens slow enough, you really don't tend to realize the change. And I really feel that the only reason the loot box contravesty happened is because EA tried to reach way too far, too fast. They tried to reach way too far, too fast, and got burned for it. They turned up the water temperature too quickly. They, instead of going up small increments, they went straight to high. And people went, hey, that's hot. You know? So, honestly, I feel like that's what's happening here. Little by little, companies are slowly seeing how much they can get away with in taking away customer service. It gets more and more difficult to speak to representatives. Things are much more automated. A lot of systems now are try to force you into dealing with automated systems and getting automated answers rather than let you speak to customer service. You know, you can circumvent um, a lot of the telephone um, automated services by just instantly saying customer service or continuously saying customer service or I want to speak to somebody, and it'll just eventually put you through. And you don't have to go through the whole rigmarole. But some of them now, if you don't give it the answer, will just, you know what, you're not answering, forget it, and hang up on you. I mean, what kind of a world do we live in where I can't walk into a McDonald's and order at the counter, where I have to input my own order on a kiosk? Yeah, there are people out there in the world starving. I weigh 420 pounds, where there are people out there starving for food. But it just kind of dawned on me how stupid this is. This is just another reach of McDonald's trying to save money and eliminate employees. Because you don't need as many employees, number one, to take orders. When you just get a thing that says the order, all you have to do is either scan it or punch in a number. It brings up the thing. You take the money, make the change. And you don't even have to you just have to hand them the bills. You don't even have to make the change when they get those automatic dispensers. You barely need to know math. Bam, bam, boom, and done and go. So not only do you need less employees because you can keep the lines moving faster, but you don't have to train them as much. You don't have to worry as much. You don't have the employee struggling on the first day to learn the registers. We've all been there that have worked at McDonald's or Burger King or any other fast food place or any first day on the job where you're struggling to learn and you're slow and you're trying and you can't. You can't. You know? And this is going to save on that. So then I'm going to ask this. If those kiosks become a thing and they don't really train people on registers, what happens when the kiosk breaks down? Uh-oh. Who's going to put in the orders if people don't know how to run the registers? Or you can train somebody to run the registers. You can train people to input stuff on the touchscreen all you want. Unless they have actual practice in doing it. Unless they actually sit there with a line of 10, 15 people waiting to order and you got to rush and hurry and find stuff and click and clack and put in the special orders and all that, you're not going to get good at it. You're not. It's through practice and repetition that you learn to do things. It's that simple. But like Uber's done the math. Uber firmly believes it'll be a lot cheaper for it to upkeep a fleet of autonomous vehicles that can drive by themselves in every country, in every city around the world than to have Uber drivers and contractors. That's what they believe. Because instead of taking a percentage of the fare, they get all of it. And they can reduce the price of the fare if they want to, even cheaper, trying to kill off the taxi business. You know what I feel? The world is becoming more and more and more autonomous. We rely on computers more for everything. There are not many people in the world, and unfortunately, I have become one of them myself, you know, that proof here. I just got distracted from notices. That can't survive without this. Do you know how long I went without a smartphone? This is only my second smartphone. My first one was a Samsung Galaxy 5. I finally relented and got a smartphone, a cell phone with my wife. I went forever without a cell phone. I didn't care to have one because when I went out, I didn't want people to fucking get hold of me. Then I got a Samsung Galaxy 5. And now I got to have a smartphone. Now I have a Samsung Galaxy 8. That's my second one. My mom has a Samsung Galaxy J7. We rely on computers more. We rely on autonomy more. Companies are slowly pulling service out of customer service. They are slowly yanking people out of the equation. And they are putting more and more responsibility on the customer. They're turning the customer into the employee. And they try and put as many barriers between you as the customer and help as possible. Did you know that you can tip in an Uber app? Most people don't know that nowadays you can leave a tip for a driver in an Uber app. Most people don't know that you can do that. But not only do most people not know you can do that, but the tip part of the app is hidden. There's a couple steps you have to go through that people don't know about. And the first thing you have to do is rate your driver. Most people don't rate their drivers. Okay? I can pull up my Uber profile real quick. Okay? Go to my earnings. In this past week, I completed 34 trips. I completed 34 trips in 2 days. Last week, I think I completed 10. Actually, I can look here. 7. I only did 7 trips. I only drove 1 day. So, what? 34, 40, 41? 41 trips. 41 trips. Okay? Now, if I look, and it's not easy to find here, in my Uber driver app, if it'll log in, because sometimes it gets glitchy, I have 5 5-star trip ratings. 5. I've only been rated 5 times. I have not been rated below a 5-star rating yet. That's it. Out of 41 trips, only 5 people have rated me. If you don't rate your driver, you don't realize that you can get a tip. And I've heard one guy say, oh, the tip's built into the app. Well, you know, I don't want to explain it because it looks like I'm asking for a tip. I want to say, well, the ability to tip is built into the app, and it's kind of hidden behind the driver rating part. You have to go through a rating thing, and then it'll give you the option to tip the driver if you want to or not. I'm just going to say, honestly, I don't ask for tips. If you want to, it's great. If not, you know what? That's cool. I'm here to do a job. I completely lost what I was saying, to be honest, where that was going. But yeah, slowly, little by little, more and more and more and more employees are being taken away, more and more responsibilities being put on the customer to fend for themselves. If I have troubles, most of the time, I don't, not most of the time, I don't have a direct, I can't call to somebody at Uber and say, help. And riders can't call Uber and say, help. You have to go through some ridiculous thing on their app. And as a driver, you're not actually an employee. You're considered an independent contractor. You're responsible for your own vehicle, your own maintenance, your own fuel, everything else. And if things happen in your vehicle, you're responsible for that too. Uber does not have your back if something happens. You are on your own. It's a risk. I do it. I'm doing it. Why are you doing it? There is an enjoyment behind it for me. There is something about it I like. Meeting people and driving and being on the road. First off, it gets me out of the house. I'm out driving and getting around. I enjoy meeting people. And I enjoy driving. And I'm having fun doing it. So as long as I'm having fun, I'm going to continue doing it. If it really becomes something I start to dislike, I'll stop. But for now, I'm enjoying it. But anyways, getting back to what I was saying. As the world becomes more autonomous, as the world starts pulling more and more employees out and starts putting more and more things on the customer to take care of, what starts happening to us as a people? Things are becoming impersonal. When you start removing the human element out of something, you stop seeing those people as human. You want proof. Then the proof is real simple. Look at the internet. How many people are big, brave, bad, bold people online? How many people are very comfortable with going online, seeing a picture of a heavy-set woman or a heavy-set man? And I'll use the subject because I am a heavy-set man. And make fun of them, and troll them, and say things, and quote-unquote cyberbully. And how many of those people would actually do that face-to-face? How many of those people would actually do that with other people around? I'm not saying that nobody would. You would inevitably find a few people who are just that much of an asshole. But most of them wouldn't. And why? Because the internet removes the human aspect of it. You don't have to worry about somebody punching you. You don't have to worry about somebody digging back at you. You don't have to hear things. You don't have to worry about other people grouping around and coming at a person's defense. When it's online and people start coming, it's no big deal. It's nothing. You're a troll. You're getting exactly what you want. You're provoking people, getting a response, and there's nothing that they can do to you. They don't know who you are, where you live. They don't know nothing about you. You're completely anonymous. Removing the human aspect out of a game, out of something, allows it to become some of the worst things it could be. I'm not saying it always will, but and when we start removing the service and we start taking the human aspect out of customer service, then you stop viewing your customers as humans. And all you see them as is wallets. EA, Valve, Ubisoft, all these, Blizzard, Activision Blizzard's another one. Bungie. I remember, when videos came out on a disc, you got a completed game. Video games will come out on a disc, and you take them, you go home and play them. You got a completed game. There might be a few bugs, but you got a completed game. And then you started getting where you could download games, and some of the games came out broken, unfinished, in terrible shape. And then you get day one patches and fixes, and some games would take upwards of a week to fix. What was it, Battlefield 4? For a year didn't work right. For a year! You know what it says when a game doesn't work right for a year? It means it should have been in fucking development for another year. But it doesn't matter. All that mattered to EA was to pump it out the door as quickly as they could so that they could make that money. They don't care what they do to the franchise. They don't care what they do to the name. And they don't care about you. Because there'll always be people who buy it. There'll always be people who play it. And there'll always be people who defend it. They'll always have their wallets. They no longer see us as customers. All they see us as is walking wallets, walking credit cards. That's all they care about. Games are designed now to try and push you, whether it be subtly or not so subtly, to try and push you to buying the microtransactions and loot boxes and stuff. And I'm using this because it's the most recent and relevant of this. But if you take the microtransaction in boxes and EA and Ubisoft, if you take that mentality and you take that big news story and you use that news story to filter your vision just for a little while at the world around you, you're going to see it's been going on a long time. And it's been happening a lot more. And it's a lot more widespread than you think. And it hit me really hard today just how bad it was when McDonald's says, oh, you got to go put your own order in at the kiosk now. We can only take money. Wow. Taking the service out of customer service. Taking the human aspect out. And turning customers into credit. I say wallets, customers into credit cards. It sounds a little better. Customers into credit cards. It's not just the video game industry. It's every industry's doing it. Whether it be Uber or Lyft, EA, Ubisoft, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's. Slowly, little by little, you say, well, Burger King's not doing it right now. Wendy's right now. If this kiosk thing, which I believe the McDonald's I came across of was one of the test beds, one of the local test beds. If this becomes successful, you can bet Burger King and Wendy's and Jack in the Box and all these other places are going to follow suit real fucking fast. Because that's what everyone does. As soon as somebody finds something that works successfully, everybody else copies it. Again, loot boxes. When loot boxes became a huge success, thanks to Activision and Blizzard, loot boxes showed up in everything. And like I said, the thing is today is you can't even call somebody up to talk about it. And little by little, more and more businesses are getting like that. And all of this, and I kept trying to get back to one subject. What happens to us as a people? Because the one hidden factor behind all this is as things become more and more automated in this world, as less and less employees are needed in a world with a growing population, as less and less employees are needed, do you see where I'm going? You could very well end up with a severe job crisis. Because the jobs that a lot of people would do, especially people that are uneducated, people that maybe didn't even graduate high school or have a GED or things like that. I respect the McDonald's worker behind the counter. I respect the guy that makes my French fries or the girl that makes my sandwiches in the back. Because I've been there. We have all been there at some point. Well, maybe not all of us, but most of us have. One of our first jobs is usually something along that line. Whether it be fast food like Wendy's, Burger King, KFC, McDonald's, or a Pizza Hut or something like that, being a delivery driver, or working behind a counter, or being a waitress, or a dishwasher, or a busboy, whatever the case may be. I respect those people because even today, where I am, even when I hit the peak of what I was capable of, which is rather depressing when I say it that way, when I was making money as a tour driver and I was doing something I really enjoyed and I felt on top of the world, I never forgot the fact, sorry, my leg's up against the table and it shakes it when I shake. I never forgot the fact that I came from there. And in many ways, I'm kind of back there. I'm just a low man again. I'm just an Uber driver. I might be delivering for Pizza Hut again. Or Domino's in the not too distant future. I might be doing something else. I might go back to working for McDonald's or something someday to try and help make ends meet. Also, as somebody who worked in the service industry all of his life, I very much respect people in the service industry. Waiters and waitresses, things like that. And even if they're not people who get tips, even if they're not people who work for tips, like the McDonald's employees and all that, I still very much respect them and try to treat them with a lot of understanding and patience. Because I've been there and I know what it's like. And I remember it, and it's something I will make sure I never forget. But those jobs are going to slowly start disappearing. poverty level and the jobless level and the homeless level of the entire country is going to start rising. It's not something that's going to happen tomorrow. It's not something that people are even going to take a great notice of for a very long time, because the temperature is going to go up very slowly, and we may not even realize it till we're already boiled. No joke. The more autonomous things that happen in the world, the more things turn to computers to take care of them, the less and less and less jobs are going to be for people who really need them. Businesses don't care about that. They don't care about you as an employee. They don't care about you as a customer. They care about money. And if they can save money, even 10 cents an hour, I don't mean 10 cents an hour across I mean even if it's just a flat 10 cents an hour, they'll do it by changing over to a computer or some other autonomous way. And your job will be gone. You know, it harkens back to a long time ago. Reminds me of an old wrestling promo when I was in my really big wrestling fanboy kind of thing. And I watched all wrestling. I wasn't just a WWF, WWE, or WCW, ECW. I was NWA. I watched any wrestling I could find anywhere. And everybody knows, anyone who's a real wrestling fan knows Dusty Rhodes' Hard Times. Dusty Rhodes' Hard Times. Promo. I don't remember the whole thing. But if you want to see the whole thing delivered by a man who can talk, just go to YouTube and type in Dusty, D-U-S-T-Y, Rhodes, I think it's R-H-O-D-E-S, yeah, R-H-O-D-E-S, Dusty Rhodes, Hard Times. And he'll have like a beret on, he'll be wearing a jacket, sunglasses. And he's a heavy-set man. He's like 360 pounds. Wrestler. Big southern drawl. You talk about hard times. We're talking about hard times. Hard times, the man been working at the same job for 30 years. For 30 years. Working at the same job. They give him a watch and kick him in the ass and tell him, sorry, your job's been taken over by a computer. I have more of a New York accent than that, I guess, but, you know. That's what's happening today. Jobs are being taken over by computers. And there aren't going to be jobs for us. And it's going to get to the point where it's not just going to be the lowly person, the McDonald's employee or the Walmart employee. It's going to start creeping up to higher and higher levels. My greatest fear of something I'm going to see or hear is the day I call up on a phone for a rare time on something of customer service I get, and I have to talk to an AI. Again, I'm not predicting an AI Skynet thing. I'm not going to say something like that's ever going to happen. I don't know. That's not something I'm going to go into. But I'm talking about a computer program with as much information programmed in as everything that can go wrong, and then uses a digital synthesized voice to talk to you. And then that's what you got to deal with. and you won't get to talk to a customer service specialist. There'll be a few jobs for real specialists where on the rare occasion that the computer can't handle a very specific thing. So they'll have like, I don't know, 20 people. It's scary to think about it, man. It's scary to think about it. Businesses today, more and more and more and more and more of them, and more. And more. Making things autonomous, not caring about us, which is bad enough. Not caring about their own employees. It's not a world I want to live in. I'd rather go back to the days where customers are human, and so are the people you talk to when you have a problem. I think it's too late for that. And I'm sorry, but for me, that's really depressing. I hope I'm wrong, but something in my gut, something in the pit of my stomach tells me not. This is going to happen. This is going to come true. And we, as people, as humans, are going to pay the price. Big business greed in ways we never imagined. All you have to do is look back 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Go back as far as 1950 and look at how customer service has evolved. Look at how customer service has changed. Look at how businesses have always been greedy. They've always tried to circumvent rules and do everything they can. But look how now they're focusing more and more and more and more on how to cut their costs at their employee level. The last time, and I know this is going long, so I'm going to end it soon, I promise. The last time I respected a company was Nintendo. Why? Because Nintendo, when it was failing, when it was having problems, when the Nintendo Wii came out and it didn't perform well enough, and then they went to the Wii U and there was all that confusion, Nintendo stocks and prices were dropped and the company was in trouble. What would most companies have done? They would have looked out at their employee base and they would have closed offices, they would have cut thousands of jobs. They would have laid off and fired thousands of people so that they could survive. You know what Nintendo did? All of the executives, all of the higher-ups, all the bigwigs took large pay cuts, gave up bonuses and incentives so that all the employees could stay employed. They took the hit. Look at today. You think back to when the financial crisis came in and how many companies suffered and fired thousands upon thousands of people, while big corporate executives that were taking bailout money from the government used that bailout money to pay promised bonuses and incentives to executives and bigwigs that were going on vacation. They bailed out the companies instead of the people. Where if you actually look and you knew where to look. In Iceland, I think it was, the same thing happened. This one of the largest banks, I believe it was in Iceland, it may have been somewhere else, collapsed. The government did not bail the bank out and save the bank. They let the bank fuck all off. The government saved the people. All of their money and rescue funds and efforts went to the people in saving them. Now with the mega corporation that was doing all the shady bullshit behind everyone's back gone, other corporations and other businesses that have better practices have stepped up. And the economy is stronger than ever. Now here, we bail out the corporations. Fuck that. We need to protect the people. But again, we don't count. We don't count. I did respect one company when that financial collapse happened. I had to give some props to Ford because, well, banks and GM and Dodge all turned to the government for help. Ford turned to investors and other things all internally and bailed themselves out of trouble. They did not take government help. So props to Ford for that. But this has gone on way long enough. Anyone still listening to this at this point, I really thank you for putting up with my rant. It means a lot to me. It's really how I feel that the world's headed for a future that does not look very bright. On the one hand, it may look like we're headed for a Star Trek kind of future. Computerized everything. And this, no. I do not see a utopia. I see a dystopia. That's scary. Anyways, folks, I'm going to be done with this. One Big Bugga signing out. See you next time.